So green careers, this is the fascinating thing. You can be green in any sector. You can work for a mining company, a construction company, a retail company, and you can have an impact by making them greener. And I call it the quick wins. Can it happen now? Is it reversible? And does it cost nothing? And just by the way that you practice and live your life, you can take that into your job. And by doing that, you make an impact. And what you'll invariably find is it reduces their costs, it creates new products for green consumers, it gets a better investment on their return for the business, and overall, it creates efficiency gains. So we need to look at this, and there are platforms that you can find national careers, and you can look at certain type of jobs, and we can look at in audit, in finance, in and working in the environmental agency, looking in biodiversity, working to create wetlands, wetland creation and restoration. There are numerous jobs, but you don't need necessarily to have a job that is explicitly titled as a green job. You can implicitly embed green into the way you practice in your role. So we look at the different trends and we can see that green skills are increasingly required. For example, I encourage my learners to become more carbon literate. At Nottingham Trent University and the Nottingham Business School, we offer carbon literacy courses, and we are part of an organisation called PRME. We are PRME ambassadors and have principles for responsible management and education. And this is why I decided that I would love to advise EduPro, because EduPro is really at the forefront of sustainability within their educational programs. So it's something I personally take an interest in to add value, hopefully, to EduPro, but it's also reciprocal because I'm learning from EduPro as well. So you never stop learning. The highest demands are obviously, we mentioned pollution, controlling pollution. That's pollution into our rivers, in our water courses, pollution into the air, controlling emissions. There is more rainfall. There is more pollution going potentially into our water table. So hydrology and all these type of careers, they all exist. 4 key work shifts. Okay. We're finding green skills in every job now. As I've said, it's embedded in every job, and we're getting it in building cars, we're getting it in making clothes, we're making it in the food that we eat. So it's all embedded, and we're seeing it in the support services, if you like, in the value chain. We're looking at sustainable funding, sustainable finance. One of the things I'm hoping to do to work with EduPro is to launch our own social impact bond, which is a sustainable way of funding charitable causes and at the same time developing sustainable infrastructure. We've got it in our HR functions where we're looking at employees, making sure that we retain employees, we get the work-life balance correct, and we provide benefits, not just remuneration, but we're keen to look at their health, and we're doing stress risk assessments. We're providing ways, supporting well-being, because we're in a very, very dynamic working environment. We're sitting at our computers a lot, and mental health is a real consideration. So it's in HR. We've got roles to look at reducing carbon footprint, ensuring that we can show that we are adhering to our ESG policies, and we are reporting more. We're measuring more non-financial metrics, recycling rates, package regulatory notes, carbon credits, waste minimization, levels of pollution. We are measuring more. So the accountants and the financiers are having to measure more non-financial metrics. I call this the green balance scorecard, because normally it was just finance and it was money, but now it's non-financial. There is a transition in the workforce, a shift over to high carbon industries. So in these industries, they are diversifying. The oil and gas sector are diversifying away from fossil fuels into renewable energies and new green sectors. Well, green technology is really driving this. And so that's a specific sector on its own. Next slide, please. So the green careers of tomorrow. Well, this is about you future-proofing your career. You have a current state, and what you want to do when you engage on an EduPro course is to be able to say, where will I be in 2 years, 5 years' time? So the secret is what skill will be prevalent further on down the line. Now, we can see that there's a lot of activity in the renewable energy sector, and this doesn't need to be big renewable energies. It can be small. At the moment, for example, we can capture methane from pre-existing landfill sites. So we can turn something that was not green, which was putting waste into a landfill, into a void, and we can actually capture methane and turn that into energy. We can actually look at smaller schemes like hydroelectric schemes where we put an Archimedes screw into the river and it provides energy for about 50 houses. We can look at combined heat and power where we can actually take uh, uh, putrescible waste, food waste in large production and convert that into energy. We can look at significant solar energy farms and wind turbines. And we can look at the coast of our country and we can look at tidal power. A former colleague of mine, Huan Jenkins, he's involved in lots of tidal power schemes around Europe, and he was a former mineral resource engineering colleague of mine that went into sustainability and transferred his skills. Environmental engineers, particularly within land developments, housing developments, triple SIs, site-specific interests that we have to protect. Might be wild orchids. I often had to protect a land base of wild orchids. I had to protect water voles and water vole habitat because I was developing a land, but sympathetically had to ensure that the biodiversity remained or I could improve it. We've got the conversion into hydrogen and electrical vehicles. We've got managers that are involved, sustainability managers, the host of careers. So ESG analysis, policymakers, I just mentioned a few. And I think the best way to look at this in context is what are we creating, what are we making, and what problem are we solving? Next slide, please. So the green job market is so exciting. I'm so passionate. I'm approaching 60, and I wish I was embarking as a 16-year-old or somebody in my 20s and 30s, because the opportunities that green careers provide don't just provide an ability to make a living and support your family and give you a challenge, but you're actually creating something. There's nothing better than getting up in the morning and saying, I've solved a food poverty problem. I've I've created a wetland creation where habitat is now flourishing and people are enjoying. I've taken vehicles off the road and built a new canal. I've created a garment which is healthy to wear, and I'm now reducing the amount of textiles going to landfill by creating a clothing exchange. So whatever you do in sustainability, you're doing good. And there's nothing better than doing good. As you get older, you realize that the giving is the biggest part of why you are here. And if you can give and create a career out of it, this to me is the ultimate utopia. So the countries that they exist, it's everywhere. And I had a conversation with somebody at the weekend that was a employment director for a university. And it was very interesting to see what he said. I said, where are the green jobs? And he said, they're not in the cities. They're not in the urban areas. They're in the green spaces. And when you think about it, if we've got a problem with flooding, or we've got a need to protect our coastline and create flood protection, if we have a problem that we want to create new biodiversity, or we want to generate eco-farming, or we want to create a large-scale renewable energy, it tends to be in the rural areas. It tends to be where the land take is, and not necessarily in the city, because the city's already developed its infrastructure, and all we can do is change that infrastructure to make it a bit greener. So it's interesting of where the jobs are. They are tending to be in the open spaces, and they're tending to be in the rural locations.